Celebrating 30 years of phenomenal trend forecasting, 5 times a week, Monday through Friday. Here's Gerald Celente with today's trends in the news.
Hi, this is Gerald Celente. It's Wednesday, October 24th, 2018. And here are some of today's trends in the news. On the market front over there in Asia. And the Nikkei is up a little bit. Shanghai is hanging a little bit higher. Hang Seng slumping a bit. Not a lot of movement. Same thing over there in Europe. Beep. Everything's pretty flat. Mixed markets. But here in the States, whew, what a rocky day. Yep. Dow opened up, a couple of hours, down over 500 points. Then it was down only about 130 points. Closed down over 600 points. Down almost 2.5%. NASDAQ down almost 4.5%. Oil down. Gold up a little bit. And Bitcoin, kind of flat. Dow erases gains for year. Tumbles more than 600 points as stocks extend October swoon. CNBC, stocks plummeted on Wednesday as a sharp drop in tech shares and worries about corporate earnings fuel this month's steep pullback. Yes, corporate earnings. Yes, way overvalued and overleveraged tech stocks that we've been talking about for a long time. But it's those interest rates that keep going up, dollar keeps getting stronger, and markets keep growing weaker. Dow Jones Industrial Average dropped 606 points and erased all of its gains for 2018. The NASDAQ Composite fell nearly 4.5%, entering correction territory, which means it's down nearly 10% this year. Worries about a slowing economy under pressure from rising interest rates grew after the Commerce Department said new home sales fell to a 2-year low. And the volatility index, the VIX, on Wednesday traded above 24 and is up more than 100% this month. And here's where they go and set you off course. Remember, go back to your Friday Trends in the News special. 3 things: rising oil prices, which are going down, oil, interest rates are the big ones moving the markets, and earnings. Oil, interest rates, and earnings. The rest of the stuff is just talk, and that's what they do, talk. Several factors has conspired to knock markets this month. Some earnings disappointment, yes. A brewing conflict between Italy and European Union over budget spending, a little bit. Criticism of Saudi Arabia over the killing of dissident journalists, nothing. And finally, worries that the world growth is losing steam. And you left out interest rates. But you know what's happening, because today, actually written before the markets opened, is your trend alert. Your trend alert. Economic 9/11 terror strike, prepare. The first shots of the economic 9/11 terror strike we warned you of in our 19 September trend alert have been fired. Equity markets across the globe are in turmoil, and economies are sinking into recession, declining, and or stagnating. And we go on to list the details from China to Europe to the USA and around the world in emerging markets. Again, before the markets are opened, the this trend alert was written and sent out. You've been getting the economic 9/11 warning since September 19th of this year. We coined the term. We saw it coming. It's here. Are you prepared? Of course you are, because you're a subscriber to the Trends Journal. U.S. oil prices are down. Well, how come? Well, the U.S. Energy Department said gasoline stocks fell, blah, 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 looming sanctions. And the EIA data also showed U.S. crude inventories rose 6.3 million barrels, much more than the 3.7 million barrel increase expected by a Reuters poll. So, we've seen oil go from well over $85 a barrel for crude, now down to the $75 a barrel range. In just a few weeks, less, on November 4th, actually November 5th, it'll take effect. Those sanctions will go on against Iran, basically an oil embargo. Will that push prices up? The reason prices are going down, there's a global economic slowdown. Destabilization in the Middle East may drive prices up. Absent that, lower oil prices. Gold. Went up a little bit. Dollar gained strength, same old story. But gold is that ultimate safe haven, and that's why it's hanging around the numbers where it is, around the 1230 range. And again, we've been saying for nearly a year, the bottom of gold would be 1200. It went to 1185, basically right in there. Market sell-off continues after U.S. Industrial Group warns over tariffs. This is today's Financial Times on yesterday's declining markets. No, it's not tariffs. It's not trade wars. It's economic fundamentals, earnings, and interest rates. Ultimately, these tariffs get all passed on to the consumer in one form or another. It's just a tax on the consumer. Oh yeah, keep sending in that cheap product. That's right. Don't give the people good jobs like in manufacturing where they could afford higher prices because they're making much more money. No, no, no. We'll just stay on the stupid tariff thing because that's why you keep losing out and we keep winning out over every magazine, every news agency in the world. We call the Trump rally first. We call the market correction first, and we call the economic 9/11 first. These are the facts. These are the stories, but they're stuck in the past in tariffs and trade wars. Euro slides to two-month low on growth fears. That's right. Slow down. I'm going to go back over a little bit of information that we've been passing on over the past couple of days to put the rising interest rate story into clear perspective. Not tariffs, Jack. Home sales slumps, lifts apartment sales. I read this one to you yesterday. Slumping home sales and rising interest rates are brightening the outlook for apartments and home rental stocks. In a survey done by Freddie Mac last week, about 78% of Americans view renting as more affordable than owning a home, a rise of 11 percentage points since the mortgage company released a similar survey data 6 months ago. People can't afford a house. They're forced to live in apartments. Again, weekly mortgage applications tank 7.1% as interest rates surge to a near 8-year high. Nothing to do with tariffs or trade wars. Capisce? No, we're going to keep saying trade wars and tariffs because we won't look at the facts. We're dumb. No, we're prostitutes. We get paid to put out. U.S. home sales fell 3.4% in September, by the most in over 2 years. As the housing markets continue to struggle, they've fallen now for 6 straight months. NAR chief economist Lawrence Yun said the overall decline appeared related to a rise in interest rates. Appeared to be? Duh. Home building falls in face of headwinds. Housing construction fell last month, continuing a weak stretch driven by rising borrowing costs. Building declined 5.3% in September from the prior month, according to the Commerce Department. Again, I'm bringing back information that we've talked about before. New home sales plunged in September, falling 5.5% to an almost 2-year low amid pressures for rising interest rates that have hammered the real estate market. That is today. Banks, builders trounced on interest rate worries. The S&P Supercomposite Home Building Index is down 36% in 2018, and some numbers are bringing it as low as 40%. The number of housing, 5.5%, below the downward revised August rate of 585,000 homes, and a 13.2% tumble from the 637,000 reported for the same period a year ago. The Northeast, which usually has the lowest number of sales, saw its number collapse by 40.6%. Housing stocks have their worst year since 2008. You got it. Mortgage applications weaken further as interest rates rise. And President Trump directly attacks Fed Chairman Powell, saying, quote, Obama had 0 interest rates. I'm just saying this. I'm very unhappy with the Fed because Obama had 0 interest rates. Trump told the Wall Street Journal on Tuesday, every time we do something great, talking about Powell, he raises the interest rates. The president said Powell, quote, almost looks like he's happy raising interest rates. Asked if he regrets nominating Powell to the Fed chairmanship, Trump told the Wall Street Journal, too early to tell, but maybe. And remember, last week he said the Fed's gone loco. They're going crazy. Yep. He knows what higher interest rates can do. So, here's the story. Will the markets keep going down? Will the Fed keep raising interest rates is the bottom line. And remember what I read to you yesterday about Paul Volcker, the former head of the Federal Reserve under the Reagan administration, saying that James Baker, who was the chief of staff running the Reagan show, came to Volcker and said, the president orders you not to raise rates before the November elections. So Trump has power over Powell. That is going to determine where the markets are going to be heading. Brussels throws out Italy's budget. Brussels rejected Italy's draft budget in an unprecedented move that threatens to deepen rifts between the European Commission and the populist government of Rome. You ain't like those establishment governments. You can't be populist. You can't be for the people. That's a dirty word. You got to be a multinationalist, a globalist. Lose your identity. Bow to the big guys. You like being a colony of Germany? That's right. No, they don't. This, again, is our forecast. You are looking at the beginning of the end of the euro. It's going to happen. And then, finally, haven't had the time to get into the international news. Widespread recalls jolt food industry. More than a dozen companies recalled millions of pounds of potentially contaminated food in recent days. Food manufacturers across the country are recalling nearly 4 million pounds of goods shipped to grocery stores. Recall hits millions of pounds of food from Harris Teeter, 7-Eleven, Kroger, Trader Joe's, Whole Foods. Yep. On and on and on and on and on and on and on. And then there's a little story. You can protect yourself from cancer by eating organic. A new study suggests those who frequently eat organic foods lowered their overall risk of developing cancer. According to a study in the JMA International Medicine. You mean no pesticides, no antibiotics, none of that. We've talked about this before. I'm going to talk about it again. Because in this time of stress, it's very important to be in the best physical, emotional, and spiritual shape you could be. And I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about you. And stop eating junk. Only buy the best. To think that we have foods that are filled with chemicals and making organic something as though it's a new invention, when that's the way it always used to be up until a very short period ago, when they weren't putting antibiotics into the feed of animals that are making people antibiotic resistant, when they weren't spraying fields with deadly chemicals and the foods as well, before they were genetically modified. We are in the beginning stages of an economic 9/11. The first shots have been fired. So, we're saying to you, prepare, prevail, and prosper. And again, going through this period of time to redirect our resources as economies are going down, away from the war machine and into building the health of the nation spiritually, emotionally, and physically, to occupy peace with liberty, love, joy, and beauty. This is Gerald Celente, and that's some of today's Trends in the News.